Hi, I'm Alex and I'm the founder of Data Startup, and you're here to watch CEO Girl Tips so I can tell you more about the world of jobs and companies. So today I invited Manu here. You're the founder of Babele.
Well
Did I say it right? And he has some amazing stories to share, and I invited him here to tell us a bit about how his company, what he does, all the amazing projects that he's been developing in the last years, and a bit about his team. So tell us a bit about you. What can you tell our viewers? Who are you and what's your background?
So my name is Manu, I come from Sardinia and I live in Romania since 5 years. Atunci vorbesc ca un retardat, dar destul de ok. And so I am an electronic engineer. I moved when I was 18 from Sardinia away, went to study in Torino as every young student from the south of Italy. And then I started working first in finance in London, and then I moved to Paris, and I started working then in Belgium for Bombardier Transportation. And then I moved back to Paris to work in IBM, and then I finished my MBA in Brazil, and then I got back to Belgium to work for Procter & Gamble. And then,
very international background, right?
Exactly. So I've been traveling like a pigeon on crack, pretty much. And then after 3 years at Procter, I actually, in Paris, I met my partner in business and in life, who is Romanian, and at some point when we met, it was actually to talk about Babele, not Babele. And our goal was really to make a social enterprise to support social innovation and social enterprise through crowdsourcing. And when we met to talk about that, then we decided to be together in every sense, and we were working during the weekend and we were working after work. Like she was working for Deloitte, me for P&G, and then we said at some point, listen, we're not gonna be able to pull this out if we continue working during the weekend and so on. So let's fire ourselves from our job and let's really work on it full time. And it would have been impossible to do it in Paris because it was utterly expensive. So if we would have had to rely only on our savings and remaining in Paris, spending one kidney per month only for the apartment and so on, then it wouldn't have happened, or we wouldn't have bought enough time to actually experiment and really understand what we wanted to do. And so we decided to come to Romania. And the goal was, let's go to Romania for 1 year. And then we stayed 1 year, and then I said, okay, let's stay 2 years. And right now, in 5 years here, we've got a baby, so, we're pretty much stuck. But I love the place. So that's one of the reasons why, and the place where we are right now, not Makerspace, that became one of our biggest partners. We got all our friends here, so it was really difficult right now to reimagining moving back to France, Italy, or whatever else.
How was going from the corporate life to the entrepreneurial life?
It was traumatic in under every way. Meaning, it is super exciting because,
I've never worked for a corporation, for example. That's why I'm asking.
No, let's be honest. I think it was in my case that was wonderful for one reason, because I could continue working for P&G while being 6 months here in Romania. So the company was not ready to say, yeah, sure, we have someone that is going to be taking your place anytime soon. So they said, okay, go to Romania, but continue to work for us. So I had this perfect transition in which I actually relocated in a different place. I could keep doing my previous job, but at the same time, starting thinking about what I wanted to do next. And so that was really good. And it was, I would say it was really good to have this kind of agoraphobic feeling of being able to manage your time, being able to work on study on whatever kind of thing you found interesting and relevant. At the same time, it's extremely challenging to really prioritize everything that you really want to do. So it's different because you're not anymore part of a much larger organization in which it's pre-established what kind of value you're supposed to bring, but actually you need to start something from scratch. And that's how we actually got interested into the lean startup methodology, design thinking, agile development, and so on, in order to understand how to actually avoid to build something that nobody wants, how to achieve failure.
Okay. What do you think about remote work? You worked remotely for some time, right?
I think that was great, but like in my case, I had the chance to be able to just open my laptop, and I was working for France, England, and so on. And it's of course more complicated if I think of all my colleagues that used to work, for example, in a factory. It's beautiful. Is it possible that every job one day is possibly gonna happen in remote? Let's see where robotization and automation is gonna lead us. But I think it's there is today a certain group of the population that has this kind of luck to be able to work on remote. Definitely.
Okay.
Not everyone.
Tell us a bit about your company, because you said you have a lot to do with social innovation. Tell us a bit about what does your company do?
Yeah. So to make a long story short, we do create an open innovation program for social change, which is a concise way to say that and might not mean much to many people. So I can tell you a little bit of the story. So when we started, the goal was the one of saying, let's do crowdsource social enterprise. The term crowdfunding, everybody knows it. You have a social enterprise, you want to do something positive for the world, you ask money, and collectively people are going to give you money. The crowdsourcing part is people give you advice or they give you their competencies in order to help you validate your business model or your strategy. So at the very beginning, our approach was really inspired by the Wikipedia Linux trend. We opened up a platform in which you open up your business model of a social enterprise, and mentors, investors, experts can find your business model based on their interests and competencies, and they can provide you feedback in order to validate the key assumption of the model. And we had some really interesting success story. We started working with entrepreneurs from 15 different countries because we were traveling, doing workshops, and at the same time using the platform, combining online and offline. But it was really difficult to have the consistency from the mentors and to achieve always the same results. And so what we noticed is that to have a really powerful mentor-mentee relationship, you really should have people should meet in person, and there should be some kind of framework for people to work together effectively. And so that's when at some point our university told us, hey, but that's great, can you do the same for our university so that we can bring our students and our researcher and our professors and our mentors, etc., etc. So they wanted to create a private environment in which they would engage all the different stakeholders to co-create those business models for social change. And so that was fantastic, because for the first time that was bringing all the structure and the framework that we were looking for to organize the crowdsourcing process. And
did you also crowdsource when you wanted to validate your idea?
Of course. And we did it we did train 500 social enterprises from Germany to Japan, and every time we were using the platform and validating our own approach, working together with all these entrepreneurs while cooking. You know, that's one of the things that I love doing. And so that's how we started. We started creating this kind of programs, and we started understanding that online is wonderful. You can achieve wonderful results in terms of crowdsourcing competencies and organizing the crowd collective knowledge. But you need a great balance between online and offline, because online is never going to replace offline, ever. And online and offline, they bring different value proposition to innovation dynamic, and the capability to adjust this dynamic depending on the stakeholders involved, depending on the final outcome of the program, it's fundamental.
You kind of make people be more friends, right? Not like discuss from friend to friend, not from like a business, like I'm the mentor, or like I have the upper hand here, and right?
It is, yes, part is that, but you know, it's also the idea that, like, let's take the problem that every innovation program has, which is you try, for example, at some point to create a LinkedIn group in which you bring all the entrepreneurs and all the experts from your program, and you hope that people are going to start to, like, you're going to tap on the collective knowledge of these people. And most of the times, either there is no activity whatsoever, or you tap into their collective stupidity, because you know how people use Facebook groups and so on. It's not exactly the kind of outcome you were hoping for, and that's simply because it's really difficult for you to understand how can you create value or capture value through a process if I invite you to my group and then I tell you nothing about what you're supposed to do. And so what generates disengagement in this kind of process is uncertainty. Is the uncertainty that you do not know how you're going to be creating value like through the process, and is the uncertainty that we did kind of, the process is not clear and is not taking into account your constraints, your intrinsic and extrinsic motivators. So the whole process is not human-centric. And so what we try to do is read the work of Italian tailor from the 1800s. We take all the measurement of all the different innovation programs and we try to create this kind of balance between online and offline with all the different activities of the program, making sure that they're really appealing for the people that will take part into those, online, offline, through conf calls and so on. We started from universities, we continued with incubators and accelerators, and we are doing it right now for corporation, for intrapreneurship programs.
Oh, we'll talk about that as well. Tell me a bit about your team. I know you have an international team working with you. How does it work? Are there any cultural differences? What's the structure you have in your company? Tell us a bit.
Well, so I'm Italian. Roxandra, the other co-founder, is Romanian. Diego, the other co-founder, is Spanish and is based in Madrid. One of our co-workers is Arnaud and is French. Then another co-worker from us is Mariana, she's Brazilian. And another co-worker, she's Canadian. And
how many are you?
In total, we are 9 right now. And right now we are recruiting another developer, and is a good friend of mine. She's from Ukraine. So yes, it's a really international team. And
how did you bring all these people to work with you?
Well, like for the co-founders, that was clear. You know, we knew each other, we trusted each other. I think that that's one of the most fundamental things before you, when you start a company. You cannot just go at a startup weekend, get random people and say, and right now we're gonna do the company. No, because you can easily get to the point in which there are gonna be some tension between the two of you, and you do not have such a powerful historic and easily go through, you know, challenges that may arise all the time.
Some people say that this kind of relationships need to be even stronger than the one that you have with your wife.
Right, unless you marry your co-founder. Boom.
Yeah, it's true.
And with the other people, it was, we started actually recruiting interns with ISEC. And we started recruiting, for example, other people like Arnaud through some friends from Node. And so it was always, we experimented different channels, of course. We like the idea that ISEC is providing this opportunity. It's only in Eastern Europe, actually. For all of those that don't know, in case you have a startup, ISEC, the student network, is providing international students from all over the world to work with startups. And this service exists only in Eastern Europe.
Isn't that true? I went to Malaysia with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, forget it. But it doesn't exist in Western Europe then?
I know there are companies, but I know ISEC has this big platform where you can choose, but like the different types of, or maybe they changed it ever since. Like I used it in 2011.
Yeah.
So maybe things have changed. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know this was the core of their mission at the beginning when they started.
Yeah.
But this opportunity, the opportunities they are providing are like just amazing.
Yeah, that's true. So like that's. And just to give you an example, with the strategy that we used is when someone comes from abroad and we know that it's going to be for a short period of time, we try to make that person work only with organizations in that country, because then in that way you're going to be creating a strong motivator for that person to create a network that is going to remain with her also when she comes back there. And at the same time, when she moves and if she had a good relationship or he had a good relationship, might continue to collaborate with you and taking care only of those organizations in on his country.
So do you take people on short time, on shorter periods of time, or like would you like to get them through ISEC maybe to have like an international team, or like maybe just find some amazing people that would fit your company or like whatever you're doing, or like that position, and then maybe try to keep them.
If it works well, yes. You always that was our approach. We start with a short-term collaboration, and then if that works, we try to keep the people. And it's great if you can actually find awesome collaborators. It's rare to find people with whom you resonate completely in terms of values, in terms of mission, and they do understand, and you can trust them. So. I think it's great to actually work for a short period of time so that you can get to know each other, and then in case there is a good fit, you do everything possible to keep the right people. And there are cultural differences, hell yeah.
Well, I can't imagine.
Well, because it's it's mainly about of course it's all cultural, and what you perceive as normal may not be normal for other people. And what I can say is that in our team, in order to make sure that we would have this strong communication that would allow people to know each other, so that you can avoid as much as possible to have misunderstanding that usually happen and so on, we cook every day together. So every day we bring the food, we cook together, we cut things together,
so you
we
don't just
chop.
eat together, you just
No.
cook together.
Screw the eating together, we do the cooking together, and it has become one of the most powerful cultural traits of our organization, because this has allowed actually people to get to know each other, even those that were maybe a little bit more introverted and wouldn't have wouldn't have opened as easily as someone else. And actually having this kind of moments in which that works pretty much as a team building, they've been extremely powerful to create this culture in which we get to know to each other, to better understand how we function, and then ultimately to better work together.
What's the structure of your team? Do you go for like it's a pyramid? Is it linear? Is it everybody can have an opinion? Everybody can have an idea? How does it work? Or what do you encourage most?
So the whole organization of the team was based on sociocracy and holacracy. Where pretty much sociocracy is the Linux version of holacracy, and you can see in that way. But
I like how you describe it.
Yeah, no, sociocracy exists since a long time. We're right now at the 3.0, but the main idea was that so we do trainings on reinventing organization. We are really passionate about the change of culture that is happening right now in companies. All these has emerged from the internet, because the internet, the openness that the internet has brought has influenced everything, from the cubicle to the open spaces, so in terms of the physical space in which we work, to the new generation of people that are much more open, transparent, creative, and so on than the previous generation, and also how leadership works. It has become much more collaborative compared to the previous one, and we are completely in this kind of paradigm. So everyone can take decisions. Everyone can even take decision about spending the company money. The important part for us is that everything is shared publicly. Everybody knows how much money everyone is making. Everyone knows what's the financial situation of the company. The important part is to have an advice process. So we moved away from the concept of hierarchical decision making, in which everything needs to go through the top of the company, and that's simply because as every pyramid, all the complexity rises to the top. So unless you have blind faith that the people at the top actually have the best possible answers to everything, or you actually accept the idea that there can be distributed intelligence within an organization. And we also moved away from consensus, because in our case we do not have a big team, so it's not too difficult. But if you have a large team and you try to have everybody agree on something, then it's actually a really cost ineffective, like a time-consuming process. So everybody can take whatever kind of decision as long as they get the advice from people that may be involved in that decision. So stakeholders, people that are impact or that can impact the decision. Like you should have at least a conversation with them, then you can do whatever you want, but you need to communicate with people and try to get a decision that is the most rational as possible for the company, for the people involved, and for yourself, of course.
I know you're super passionate about intrapreneurship, so tell us a bit about what it is and how can companies or big companies dig into that and how they can make a change.
Awesome. So entrepreneurship is a way to democratize innovation in a large or small organization, and it is really related to the whole topic of reinventing organizations. For those that do not know what it is, go and check it out. Frederic Laloux, Reinventing Organization, awesome book. And it is related because there is not anymore a charismatic Napoleonic leader saying what should be the direction of the company ahead for the next 20 years, but you're allowing the innovation to happen from the bottom up, enabling also other people to leave their job description and work also on other aspects than like what they're supposed to do on a daily basis. And great examples are 3M that started allocating 15% of the employees' time to work on innovative projects that may have resulted in like probably process innovation, but also into new ventures and new companies that the company then launched. And then Google followed by providing 20% of the time to employees to work on innovative ideas. And so, for example, Daniel Buchheit is a great example of an entrepreneur. He created Gmail in collaboration with other people in the company without having any kind of indication from the top of the company to ever do something like that. And that became one of the key businesses of Google today. And then after that, there was the whole concept of open innovation. So the companies, they realized that if they wanted to stay competitive, they needed to be more agile, working with companies such as startups. Working with a startup can be extremely challenging for a large company because they have two completely different DNAs and a way of functioning. So at some point they said, why would we only rely on people that are outside the company, and maybe we're completely missing some people that have the aspiration to come up with improvements, innovative ideas and business models. And so we can probably leverage their capacity to innovate in transversal way than what we have been doing with our traditional innovation pipeline.
So basically what separates them from being super successful and maybe coming up with a pretty big project is just like a shift of mindset, right? To allow these people that are already in their organization to come up with ideas and maybe develop on that.
It's the ideas part is great. It's not enough. So what happened?
For the execution, but like.
Yeah, like there are methodology. Right? It has to start from like that. So the human-centric design and the design thinking are definitely references, methodologies for companies to engage their employees in the innovation process. These for sure. At the same time, most of the times there are companies that started simply doing an ideation challenge. Give us ideas, guys, and that would end there. That's wrong because. Most of the companies, they didn't understand that for this to work, they must recognize the role of the entrepreneur, allocating money, budget to do things. So there is, for example, a great program from BNP Paribas, the French bank, that is called the People's Lab. And the People's Lab, it's a social entrepreneurship program for employees that want to create socially responsible companies or projects inside the company. And they, of course, go through an ideation, they select the best ideas, and then those that were selected, they're allocated 20% of their time to develop those ideas inside the company.
Is it something like what Carrefour did?
With Amoide. Amoide also did an ideation.
Is it something similar?
It is similar. That's the thing. You know, one thing is doing an ideation to come up with some improvements on how to improve, for example, the service of the company. In the case of Carrefour, I don't think it was really an entrepreneurial competition because I'm not sure that people really came up with new business models or new initiatives that the company could have developed. Like a more powerful example is probably.
You might be right. I think it was more of a process-focused thing.
No, for example,
like how to improve processes and stuff.
You know, like the initiative to put a parking for bicycle outside every Carrefour. That's wonderful, but it's not an entrepreneurial idea. You know, you put it once, and then the role of the entrepreneur is not going to be to check out how many bicycles are being parked there. You know, so it's a completely different thing. When you look at the program from the company Enel in Italy, Make It Happen. They have two different tracks. The green track that is for real new businesses, and the blue track that is for process improvement. And in case you have a new business idea, then you pitch up to the top management of the company, and if they tell you you can go with it, then you're going to be allocated 100% of your time to actually implement that idea and make it happen. So it's a complete change in the role that the person is playing. But it would be a mistake to only put too much pressure on the innovators alone, because when you think about the startups and how the startups are being developed today, there is all this process of let's validate what kind of assumptions are wrong about my idea. And the luck and the fortune of large companies is that they have a big user base of experts and other people inside the company that can help the intrapreneurs validate those assumptions. So putting too much pressure on the innovator alone would be a mistake. The intrapreneurship happens when all the company is provided the opportunity to contribute to this innovation process, so that these intrapreneurs are not going to be doing all the work by themselves.
Thank you so much, Manu. Tell our viewers where they can find you.
At Not Makerspace, if you want to eat with me, come on Monday. I cook every Monday for 40 people.
I confirm it. He makes great food.
And of course, you can go and check out what we do at babele.co. It's not Babele. I have nothing to do with the Sphinx, old ladies. We are not doing a social network for grandmothers. But go to babele.co. And drop me an email at manu@babele.co if you have any question. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Manu, and I'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Bye.
Cheers.